A very good morning to all of you from the Govardhani village of Galtare, India. And I want to thank all of you for joining us once again on the 10th day of our 21 days habit challenge. I am really happy and delighted to be with all of you once again to share a couple of thoughts, a few reflections with all of you so that we can work on our habits, try and check off the bad habits and cultivate good ones. Shripad, good morning. Srajita Saxena ji, Hare Krishna. Ratiranjan Bag, Hare Krishna. Suman Pant, Hare Krishna. Prashant, good morning and Hare Krishna. Mayuri, thank you for joining us. Neil, good morning. Shraddha, thank you very much for joining us. Prasunjit, thank you for being with us. Abhishek, all the way from Jamshedpur. Tata, thank you for joining. Suman, very good morning. Sudipto, good morning to you. Ankita, I'm really happy that you've come up with us for this Facebook Live session. Neeraj, thank you for joining us all the way from Chile. Shrikant, thank you for being with us. Animesh, thanks. Yashobant, Jai Jagannath, and my pranams to you as well. Shakya Singh ji, thank you for joining us. Ankit, thank you again. Kaushik Bhomik, thank you for joining us. And Deepta Prava Ghosh, thank you for joining us for this Facebook Live session. And I know that if we work on our challenges, we can certainly come out of our challenges, Deepta Prava. I also want to really appreciate a 10-year-old boy, Rohit, all the way from Canberra, Australia. He's always has to go to school the time this Facebook Live happens, but when he comes back from school, he insists that his mother plays the videos for him, just 10 years old, and a very sincere boy. So Rohit, thank you for joining us. Kelly, all the way from California, thank you for being with us. Anikesh from Darjeeling, thank you. Swati, thank you for waiting for the session. Mushaddiq Hussain, thank you for joining from Goa. Avit, thank you for your compliments. And Sonam, thank you for being with us this morning. I really once again express my gratitude to all of you for joining us this morning for our 10th day of the 21 Days Habit Challenge. A quick brief recapitulation of what we discussed in our session yesterday. We heard how we need to deal with the negative and be consumed by the positive. We shouldn't be consumed by the negative. We should be consumed by the positive and deal with the negatives. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, gratitude is that most powerful positive emotion. And if we get consumed by that positive emotion of gratitude, we certainly can deal with a lot of negative challenges, habits, difficulties, and problems that can come our way. One time, there was a man who was engulfed with a lot of negativities, with a lot of bad habits, a lot of attachments, and he had heard that close by in a forest there lived a sage, and the sage would offer solutions to the problems and the issues that you were going through. With a lot of anticipation to improve, to work on himself and pull himself out of these negative habits and attachments, he made his way to the forest. There he saw a sage sitting under a tree. This man came and offered his pranams, his obeisances to the sage, and knelt down in front of the sage, and looking up towards the sage sitting on this platform under a tree, he asked the sage, "Sir, I've come all the way from the village close by. I'm completely overwhelmed by these negative attachments, completely carried away by my bad habits. There's not one wrong thing that I don't do. I'm practically into all these wrong things. But I know it's wrong for me. I know it's bad for me. I know it's detrimental to my progress, to my overall well-being. How do I actually come out of this negative attachments and this situation?" The sage said to the man, "Stand up." The man stood up. The sage said, "Now pick your right leg up into the air and hold it there." The man lifted his right leg and held it in the air. The sage said, "Now pick your left leg up into the air and hold it there." The man said, "Hey, wait a minute. My right leg is already up in the air. How can I pick my left leg up into the air? If I pick my left leg into the air, I'll fall down, won't I?" The sage said, "All right, no worries. I know you can't do it." The sage said, "Now can you see that branch of the tree above your head? I want you to now put your right hand above your head and hold that branch which is above your head. Now, the branch was not very much into his reach, but not completely out of reach. So the man went on his toes, really kind of struggling, and held that branch with his right hand. The sage said, now I want you to pick your left hand up and hold that branch with your left hand. The man, the branch was a little higher from the left hand side, and he kind of really was practically on his toes as he held the branch with his left hand. And now that he had held the branch with his right and his left hand with both of his hands, the sage said, now I want you to lift both of your legs in the air. Very easily, the man picked both of his legs in the air and was practically swinging back and forth, enjoying the swing, the effect of the swing that he was having in front of the sage. The sage looked at the guy and said to him, when you're trying to deal with your negative habits, give them up and try to deal with your attachments and get yourself uprooted from these attachments. It's like trying to put both of your legs in the air without holding on to anything higher. Now, when you put both of your legs in the air and pick yourself both the legs in the air, well, the only one thing that will happen is you fall down. So just like you cannot lift both of your legs in the air, unless of course you're a yogi who levitates, you can't lift both of your legs into the air. Similarly, you can't just give your negative habits and attachments by themselves. The sage went on to say, but just as soon as you put both of your hands to a branch which was higher, a branch which was above you, you could now bring both of your legs in the air. Similarly, the sage said, when you try to connect to something which is higher than you, which is above yourself, that connection to something higher than you gives you such an incredible experience of joy and positivity. It is based on that experience of your connection to something higher than yourself that you can pick both your legs up, that you can actually pick yourself up from your habits, bad habits. You can pick yourself up from your negative attachments. The man was amazed at the answer. He said, it sounds so good and seems so incredibly inspiring, sir, but there's a question. What is that higher thing? In picking both my legs up, I can just hold on to the branch and pick both of my legs off. But what is that higher thing that I can hold on to and pick myself up from these bad habits and negative attachments? The sage said 3 things. Number 1, the thing that's higher than yourself is cultivation of good habits. Yes, you're not able to yet deal with your bad habits and not minimize those bad habits. Can you start cultivating some good habits and connect to something higher and get that experience, that positive experience of pleasure from something higher, and then be able to deal with these negative attachments and habits? It's just like if you get a stale chapati or a stale piece of bread which is 7 days old, and that's all you have to have and eat, you'll hang on to it, you'll cling on to it. But if someone offers to you a fantastic, hot, fresh pizza, if that's what you like, or any other example of whatever you like, someone offers you fresh, something fresh, hot, piping hot and delicious, you can take that. Because the pleasure and the experience coming from something fresh, you would easily be able to do away with that stale piece of bread or chapati that you clinged on to only for one reason, because there's nothing else. One man came up to me and he said to me that his son is so hooked on to playing this video games on a smartphone. For 2 hours a day, he just spends his time playing these games on the phone. So I've been chastising him. I've been trying to take him out of it, but he just doesn't listen. He just doesn't come out. I said, don't ask him to come out of this 2 hours of playing these games. Rather, why don't you tell him you can play these 2 hours of your games if you also go for a swimming class for 30 minutes every day. If you send him for a swimming class where there's a good coach teaching him, where he starts having interpersonal relationships with others in the swimming pool, where the coach is really giving him the confidence, he himself is learning how to swim well, his self-confidence is boosted, his self-esteem is boosted, he feels incredibly inspired by coming in contact with water, by coming in contact with people. The experience of pleasure that he derives from this, eventually probably he may not even want to play that game, and even if he does want to, he'll do it in moderation. So why say no to this? Why not say yes to something amazing, something good, which will give you a positive experience of pleasure, of joy, of confidence, of self-esteem, and based on that, then you could come out of these negative attachments and bad habits? So the one thing to connect yourself to, the higher thing to connect yourself to, is cultivation of those positive good habits, whatever that might be for you, whatever that might be for you. But that experience will certainly enhance your ability to deal with your negative habits and attachments. The second thing the sage said to the man is that higher thing that you could connect to is a sense of very strong purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of life is a life of purpose. If we are not driven by a very strong purpose in life, all these little things and these habits and these challenges and problems just overcome us like mad. But if we are strongly driven by a sense of purpose, we subdue all of these attachments and these negativities to that strong sense of purpose. Find your purpose. If you do not find your purpose, and if you do not get consumed by that purpose, if you do not feel motivated by that purpose, that higher branch above yourself, then both of your feet are going to be on the ground, and like the pull of gravity, your habits and your attachments will drag you down day by day. And therefore, we need to certainly look for that sense of purpose. And what is that sense of purpose? To serve, to bring a smile on somebody's face, to help, to share, to care, to love. Believe me, as we find that sense of purpose, and as we extend that helping hand to someone, to serve, to truly bring a change in someone's life, a positive change, you know what happens? We feel a great sense of inner fortitude to deal with our negative challenges, because we have held on to something higher, something much higher than ourselves, a purpose. That strong sense of connecting to something higher than ourselves will help us pick our feet up, pick ourselves up from those attachments and those bad habits. One gentleman once came to me and he said he had 2 young sons, and he would always take both of these sons on vacations to different parts of the world. He, his wife, and his 2 sons, his entire family would go for vacation, sometimes thrice a year, always stay in 5-star hotels, spend a huge amount of money on shopping for the entire family, whatever they wanted, always fly business class or first class, and gave everything possible to his 2 sons. One probably about 13, 14 years old, the other probably about 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. And one day this man comes up to me and says that these kids are just not grateful. I thought I should give them an experience of what real life is. So I was trying to propose that we should probably go on economy class to fly to our vacation in Switzerland this year. And we should probably also stay in a budget hotel. But these kids just can't understand. They just don't have gratitude. I said to the man, yes, certainly there is some fault with the kids as well. But there's a great fault with you as well. You have never said a no to them. They've only heard a yes as an answer. They never have heard no as an answer. So they're practically pampered. And because they're pampered now, they're just demanding. They feel they're entitled. Another thing I told him is, look, have you ever taken them to an old age home? Have you ever taken them to the economically underprivileged? Have you ever taken them to an orphanage where they can also see other kids, other people who don't have what they have? They're going to a school which is surrounded by kids either of the same socioeconomic status or higher, probably in an IB school. They're going to a party where they find people, kids their age, who are probably either same like them or higher than them. So they feel they're entitled, or they're always complaining and cribbing that they don't have enough. Why is he driving in this car? Why can't I drive in this car? But when they start looking at people who are lower than themselves, no one's lower than anybody, but from a socio-economic point of view, if somebody is apparently lower than themselves, they'll see what they have and be grateful for it. Not just that they'll be grateful for it, they'll also find their sense of purpose to serve, to give, to share, to bring a smile on that other person's face. Start taking them to these old age homes. I said start taking them to these orphanages, to these underprivileged, economically underprivileged. Start taking them to deal with nature. Start taking them to deal with cows, with animals, so that they feel a sense of compassion. They feel a sense of service. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, find your sense of purpose. What can you do for somebody, even if it's that one person? Find that sense of purpose, that branch, that higher branch, that's something above yourselves to connect to. And believe me, you will feel that you now get the strength to pick your legs up. Believe me, you'll feel the strength to now pick yourself up from these habits and these negative attachments. The third thing the sage told this man is that higher thing to connect yourself to, above yourself, is your spiritual connection. The connection of your very self, the very core, your very soul, with divinity, with the supreme divine. As you connect, make that deep spiritual connect, that spiritual energy, that grace, that blessing that flows down to you, gives you the ability to pick yourself up from these habits and these negative attachments. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder of ISKCON, in the year 1965, made his way to the United States of America, and at that time he found himself surrounded by what was then called the Flower Revolution. Young American boys and girls, all in their late teens, in their early 20s, late teens or early 20s, completely subjugated and consumed by their negative energy, by bad habits, substance abuse, compulsive alcoholism, all kinds of illegitimate connections, consumed by these. Srila Prabhupada recommended to them to connect themselves to a higher branch, the branch of their spiritual connection. Gave them sanctified food called prasadam, asked them to chant the holy names of God, asked them to do spiritual service to God and to the people of this world. And with that strong spiritual connect, way in 1965-66, many of these American boys and girls came out of their negative attachments and habits because they had clinged on and held on to something higher than themselves. And 40, 50 years down the line, these ladies and gentlemen are still very spiritual people. His disciples, his followers, his students, still completely connected, still away from all of those habits that they were then consumed by. And today, the 15th of December, as I mentioned earlier, all across India and PVR cinemas, there's going to be a documentary movie on His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada called Hare Krishna. I do recommend all of you to go and watch this movie if you can, to see the kind of change that comes when you cling on to something higher than yourself, a purpose, good habits, a spiritual connect. Yes, the sage told the man, if you do connect yourself to something higher than yourself, like that branch above you, you will certainly be able to pick your legs up. You'll certainly be able to come above all those bad habits, all those attachments, those negative attachments that are pulling you down like the force of gravity. In the language of the Bhagavad Gita, it is called Param Drishtva Nivartate. Experiencing that higher pleasure, experiencing that higher taste by our connection to something higher than ourselves, and dealing with our negative attachments and bad habits. So yes, that higher thing is number one, good habits and the experience coming from there. Number two, it is a strong sense of purpose and the experience coming from there. And number three, it is that spiritual connect and the experience coming from there. And that high experience will surely help us deal with our habits and our negative attachments. I thank you all very much for being with us. Thank you, Sachin, for joining us. Rati Ranjan, thank you for your affection and your love. Chetan, thank you for being with us this morning. Saurav, good morning. Manoj, Hare Krishna. Devanshu, good morning and thank you for joining us. Ankit Tiwari ji, thank you for being with us. Rekha, the film is not yet uploaded online, but it's available in all the theaters at the moment. Sumit, thank you for joining us. Govind, all the way from Mauritius, thank you so much for bringing in that positivity by all of you being together. Akshat, thank you for the compliment of the story. Preeti, thank you for joining us, and you're going to see the movie at 8:30 in Spice PVR Noida. All the best. Shayanji, you're asking what would the spiritual practice be? We will soon come to that in our forthcoming sessions. But once again, I want to thank all of you very, very much for joining us this morning on the 10th day of our 21 Days Habit Challenge. See you all tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock Indian Standard Time. Until then, for those of you who are in the far east, for those of you who are in the far west, the United States of America, good night. For those of you who are in the UK and in Europe, still at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, South Africa, anyways, keep sleeping if you're up. Wish you a great day ahead. For all in India, the Middle East, good morning and a great day ahead. For all in the eastern side of India, Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, all of these other countries in the East, wish you all a great day ahead. Of course, all of you in India, a great day ahead. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.